right?
Okay, so
So I mean, I guess the what would be our podcast or discussion mainly about would be that you can mirror or reciprocate or give me your feedback about what we'll do. It's like I think we'll just mostly talk about topics that are on Vietnamese newspaper. Um,
yeah, of course.
and then, that will give insight to the one person or zero people that are listening to this about what's going on. And, I guess we can relate that to our experiences and, our thoughts. And yeah, just mainly just have fun with it. And that's it, you know? Okay.
Yeah, I think it's a first, but however, the thing is, the spiciest topic that people really, I mean, people, I mean, like me. So, people want to talk about or discussing about probably not on the news. You know what I mean?
The curry voted world's worst dish.
Oh God, you did me a dirty dude. So I was prepared to talk about that last. No, you put him on the
Yeah,
spot
yeah,
here.
we'll just go with the flow, We don't,
Okay.
there's some stuff on the docket, but stuff comes up or stuff doesn't come up, then it's fine. But
So
yeah, I read this very, very quickly. And it did mention something about a Vietnamese dish too. But anyway, we'll start with what your thoughts about this is.
So my theory is that let's say go back to Asia, Vietnam in particular, but then Asia in general as well. Let's say 100 years ago or 200 years ago. Many mouths to feed, not enough cattle around. So what happens? Meat is very scarce. Back in the day, we don't have like the farming on the scale of modern farming is. So you have to be quite wealthy to have like a chunk of steak every day. So you have to be like royalty, something like that. So it's scarce. Even fish, you have to spend 6 months on the ocean, floating around, risking death to bring back some fish. So it's scarce. It's not easy to come by. So what do you do in a scenario where there are many mouth to feed and protein is scarce? You have to make use of every single part of the animal body. All right, you don't just eat like the good part. You don't just eat the T-bone and the filet mignon, the good top leg. You have to eat like the tail, the mouth, the tongue, the intestine, the
The
cow's
fish head, right?
butthole,
Especially.
everything.
Yeah.
And you see what we're going with it. So, and not every single part of the animal tastes good. Not every single one of them tastes good. Some of them taste really bad. So what do you do? If it's the end of the month and now the cow is running out of the good part, now you have to go down to the intestine. It's not tastes very good. What do? You have to mask that bad taste with something stronger. And what is the best thing to mask that bad taste? So you don't have to taste it. Chili, obviously. I would argue that probably like lemongrass and shitload of onion and garlic helps you, but the main ingredient is chili because it downs out your taste bud with spiciness, so you don't taste anything else. You don't taste the bullshit in the intestine. You only taste the chili, so you get the protein, the cholesterol, the fat, the thing that can help you survive without having to take any of that.
Right.
But it have to be objective. There's no way the taste is actually good for like an organic human. It has to be like a learned behavior. And the same thing is probably true. And I would put like my certainty lower on this one, but it might be true for beer as well. The
So
reason people enjoy beer is because
before
of the
before
alcohol.
hold on before we get because we went
Before
from
we get there,
from curry to like spicy food to coffee and then now to beer. But let's try to like go back to like the a little bit about the original uh piece that we were referencing. So I think
yeah.
I read it faintly. The Thai dish is basically like the curry that has I think the thing that is very
The main
unappealing to people
so
was
the main ingredient is include fish entrails, so fish
uh,
guts,
fish entrails, and then I think they have like fermented shrimp, which I think was
shrimp paste.
shrimp paste, which in Vietnam would be some kind of like
Disgusting. Shrimp paste. So if you live in Vietnam, you know what shrimp paste is. It's
Yeah,
disgusting.
they call it what, help me
Mắm
out.
tôm.
Mom tom or mom rook sometime, depending on
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I think I think what you were saying was like these we would call exotic parts or exotic flavors are not gonna appeal to the mass market. And so
It barely appeal to the local market. The
right,
only reason we consuming like shrimp paste back in the day is because they were hungry and there's no other option.
right,
Shrimp only stay fresh for a while, all right? They don't stay fresh forever, and there's no refrigerator back then. So
right,
how do you make use of the rest of the decomposing shrimp without wasting them? You know, it's protein. You can waste them. You just
absolutely,
ferment them, make
absolutely.
them into a product that is still deliver nutrition without going to waste.
Right.
But it's not good. If you have option, you will eat like a fresh shrimp every single day. You
Yeah,
know,
and so I think that so we're trying to, I would say we're trying to give understanding to the Thai side, and then understanding to whatever um kind of reviews or publication that gave this dish and branded it like the worst dish in the world, right? Which I think is like, yeah, yeah, we went through the reasons why Thai people make this, and it's very logical. It makes sense, and it's very it's like a prerequisite for them to live off,
survive.
right?
Yeah.
And so, but from the Thai point of side, is like, okay, like you taste is subjective, and um, we've been eating this for a long time. We love it, and every local cuisine is different from like your typical, what would be a universally approved upon food, like pizza. You know, pizzas you can have many topping any way you like, with cheese or even without cheese. You know, and I think that's just the gist of the article that the insight that
It
I've
is, yeah.
yeah, I've come to like come up with this theory. You know, it's like, okay, the local people eat this, other people don't like it, and now there's like a conflict. So that's
They're mad.
yeah, so
They're
it's
mad because like, so before the age of 5, most kids eat very similarly, and is that is the objective part of how food tastes like. And you can judge food objectively by feeding it to a baby. Yeah, like I said, they don't have any bite. They don't have to like coffee. They don't have to like shrimp paste, so they will spit it out. So you can learn to enjoy just about anything. I think here's a good test to see how food can taste like semi-objectively. If a cuisine is popular, you can safely say that that is objectively good. So, for example, everywhere in the world they enjoy Thai food. I mean, vanilla Thai, not that kind of Thai. So vanilla Thai is everywhere. Vanilla Chinese everywhere. Vanilla like Italian food is everywhere. A steak is everywhere, hamburgers everywhere because they are universally enjoyable. So that is very objective to me. But if you bring something like spicy fish gut, it's gonna be something like a niche thing that only some people who learn to enjoy that can enjoy that. And I say that as a Vietnamese person, and I have a lot of things from my own cuisine that I eat, but I have to objectively say they're disgusting. There's no way that is good for anyone else. And I can say that, so I'm gonna say it. So that again, so I read in the article again. It's not really about that in particular. It just like reminds me of how people get mad when we insult something that they learn to enjoy.
But just a funny story about spicy food. One of my friend who's much older than me, who lives in America, he's Vietnamese too. He would mention that back in days, because we didn't have that much food. It was just his theory that his parents made the food so spicy that after you ate like one small bowl, we call it a small bowl, which is gang. There's not a word for this in English. And then it would be so spicy and so unbearable that after one bite of it, uh,
Yeah.
your taste buds would be just gone, and you're like, I'm not that hungry anyway. So it was a way of like rationing food. So just a quick side story about spicy food. But yeah, you were saying about beers real quick. Go ahead.
Yeah, so yeah, just to regurgitate at that point, I think your friend was like onto something there. That's exactly what I was trying to say. If it's spicy, you will be able to not have to taste how bad it was, and you know, until to ration through as well. Like one bowl and oh, you're done. You don't want any more? All right, good. Okay. And beer is kind of the same thing that I was saying about coffee. People drink coffee really for the caffeine, not for the taste of coffee. And I would argue that probably most people who drink beer for the alcohol, not for the taste of beer. Like the beer doesn't taste that much. There's not much of a taste of the beer there. The lager beer, like modern beer, like specialty brewery beer, where they have like some flavor in it. I can see why people enjoy the taste, but I don't see how the taste of like just hop beer can be enjoyed just by the taste. So you drink it for the alcohol is what I feel like, which I understand. You know, do I drink beer sometime? Yes, not that much anymore. I mean, not at all anymore. Actually, maybe one beer a month. But back when I was still drinking beer, I drink it for the alcohol, not for for the taste of beer. If I really enjoy the taste, I either drink red wine or as wine in general, or maybe I'll drink like some special brew with like passion fruit or coffee beer, some special beer that tastes nice. But like a lager beer, even like expensive like blonde lager beer, it doesn't taste much at all. So yeah, it's the thing about the Thai curry reminds me of is the fact that a lot of food that people swear by is purely a product of something that you acquire along the way and not something that people would organically enjoy. And it's fun to point that out once in a while, and people will instinctively try to defend the thing that they enjoy, which I understand. It's fine. But at the end of the day, yeah, I do have to admit that a lot of things that I enjoy today is probably a product of Stockholm syndrome on my end. Probably the same for smoking as well. So it's still one of my bad habits that I'm trying to reduce. So I smoke for the nicotine, not for the sensation of smoking. Like, let's be real. Physiologically, there's no way that a human enjoy having like hot smoke, like clogging up in the throat. There's no way that's enjoyable. You enjoy the nicotine, and then you associate that enjoyment with the act of smoking, and then you learn to enjoy that. And then over time, you unironically enjoy the act of smoking, like most people, like I do. So,
Absolutely,
but
absolutely.
yeah, so
Oh, so let's speaking of social, we'll go to the next thing on the docket, which is this story about you know
oh, this one. Oh my God.
right.
Oh,
But this was reported news that the son of an actress in Hong Kong has now been rumored in a relationship with his 46-year-old caretaker or mentor. Um, and so I guess this is spicy rumor mill talk. But the more the more I read about this, the more I want to just talk in general about the dynamics and how culture looks at uh, age gaps, uh, especially large ones, when it pertains to relationship. What I think about this is, I mean, just by in the basic terms, I don't know what the legal age is in Hong Kong. It's funny because in America the legal age is 18, but actually you look at the rest of the world, it's actually I think most places are actually lower than that. Uh, Most places I heard was 16. And I heard that in some places, like if you have parental consent, then marriage can even be lower than 16, right? It's just that when the parents don't agree, there's a problem. So yeah, that's my little 2 cent on age gap difference. What do you think?
okay. So for the record, in Hong Kong, the age of consent is 16 officially.
Oh, okay.
So the kids on the article is 17, right? So it would be legal, but like okay, so if you read down further in the article, I read that this morning, and apparently his mom was admitted to the hospital after hearing the news.
Yeah.
So I don't imagine she took that very well, which understandably. But also, like, all right, just to be fair, I doubt that she actually looks for 46. If I have to bet, I
Oh yeah,
don't think she
I
looks.
think that was that was the picture of her.
No, that
No,
was the mom.
that
That
was a
was the
mom.
mom.
Okay.
No, not her. She was anonymous. No, you cannot find her name or her picture anywhere because I checked
Okay.
just in case. I was wondering. All right, okay, that's gonna be some good shit. Like I gotta look up. All right, I can't find it, so it's not there. So the thing is, kid is 17. I mean, not kid. Like for the Hong Kong standard, he's like not a kid anymore. Not consider like let's consider like the consent adult now. And his dad is I don't know his mom, but I know his dad. His dad is quite a big deal in the Hong Kong movie scene. It's a big deal, and he's 17, adult, on track to be a celebrity as well. I think he can do better than a 46-year-old mentor of his, whatever she's doing for him. So, but whatever the case, I doubt that she looks 46. I'm sure she's a wonderful woman, but it's not just that they're dating; it's that they're living together. They're moving in together. The 46-year-old mentor and the 17-year-old boy. So, all right, as a parent, okay, that is I I can't even imagine what the mom went through there. But if we are going to narrow the discussion around the age gap, then I think age gap. All right, again, I'm not describing how it should be. I'm describing how it is at the moment, right? I'm not saying how it should be, but the way it is right now is that people don't mind the age gap that much when it's in one direction. Meaning, if it's the older guy and the younger woman, people don't seem to mind too much. But it seems to be, yeah. But in reverse, if it's a really young boy and like an older woman, people seem to really like react like negatively. Again, I'm not describing how it should be. I'm describing how it is right now. And I can kind of see why people react that way. And correct me if I'm wrong, but my impression is that the reason people do that, again, it's just a guess. The reason people have the double standard on the age gap is because for an older man to for older men to date much younger women, we consider it to be like a achievement, right? So you go through life, you made it, you become successful, you attract like hot young women, so people consider that to be like an achievement. So oh, good for you, man, you did it. You marry like a trophy. You punch up your weight, things like that. So it's considered achievement. But for a young boy dating like a much older woman, I guess you can say that it's considered to be an achievement for the woman as well. But people tend to look at it from the boy's perspective. All right, what are you doing? So and not to mention the kids issue. Let's say you end up like being happy enough to get married. So how you can have kids? You're 17, she's 46. She's not gonna have any kids with you like now or in the next 5 years. So is that another big elephant in the room? So for me, personally, do I have the same reaction to the general public when I see something like that? Yeah, I do. But it's just my personal out, out outlook on this kind of thing. But honestly, it's live and let live, right? He's a consenting adult for the Hong Kong standard, and if he wants to date a 40-year-old mentor, sure, go ahead. His mom might not approve, obviously, but at the end of the day, if he wants to do so, it's his choice. And if he doesn't want to do it anymore, and when he's 25 or 27, he can always change his mind. It's not like he's running out of.
Cool.
But what
Yeah,
what
I got two thoughts on this. So, firstly, there are many public stories or public examples of actually adopted kids or people or kids who are not biologically linked. So, for example, if I think I forgot who, but they're a famous celebrity where they have a biological kid and then they adopt another kid of the opposite gender. So let's just say they have a biological son and then they adopt a girl.
about?
Yeah,
Okay.
a daughter, right? And so the boy and the girl know each other for a long whiles, and then they grow up and
Oh
they
no,
right they
no.
this is very public. I forgot who this was, but uh, I find that to be first, yeah, it looks sounds kind of yucky, sounds kind of weird,
Yeah.
but if you just have the perspective and understanding of the two people, like why why not? That's the best choice because you have vetted this other person your whole life. You've grown up with them through childhood, through puberty, through teenage, and through young adult. And so if there's no like risk of, having um, DNA damaged kids, if the two kids were to, give birth to a child, I see that as actually that's the best thing because like you have years, if not decades, to vet your partner. Whereas like nowadays, people would have a year or two most before they propose and engage. And so I think in the case of, like you're right, like being around that person means that you have a better connection. You know the person very well. Like you're not just, if anything, you know them more because you're not just dating in circumstances that are quote unquote ideal, like going to the movies, going out on trips where it's inherently a fun and high energy thing. You're not doing baseline things. You're not just sitting around looking at each other, figuring out what to say. And so, in just from that aspect of being around someone, having time with them, I can understand regardless of the circumstances of age or who's older. I think that's very understandable from my side. And then the second part was like, as far as the age gap goes, I think most people, most cultures accept and even promote having older men with
Yeah,
younger
yeah, good
women.
point. Yeah.
Right? And so I think that's very common. In this case, it'd be just the opposite. You know, the woman is in her 40s and the boy is in his late teens. And so, you know, I, in the article doesn't go too much into detail about exactly their relationship. It's even just a rumor. But the way I see it is like there's not really that much harm. And then in a second, I'll kind of go into it's a little off the story, but we'll go into like teacher-student relationship. Yeah, this is a little bit, but I'll try to make it quick. So you hear about teacher-student relationship, correct? That's I can't hear you. I think you're muted.
Oh,
Okay, I can hear you now. I can hear you now.
all right.
Yeah. So I'll make this quick. It's a little juicy. It's a little controversial, but um, so in America, like we mentioned, like the age of consent is 18. So, but I hear stories about you know teachers and students dating, and usually it's the male teacher dating the female student. At least from
How
let,
I'm
let me get to it. Let me get to it. So
okay.
Uh, but vice versa, if it's the teacher student, I mean the teacher female and the student is male, we look at that differently. You get what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
like if just speaking from my experience, like as a man or as a you know, hormone uh overwhelmed teenage boy, shoot, I wish like a female teacher would have an eye out for me. That would have made life a lot easier. And so when a male teacher kind of initiates the relationship with a female, we look at that as predatorial and taking advantage of the girl, right? Um, but in the case of if it was yeah, I mean, you can ask your friends, your male friends, what would they think? And I would argue that they would probably like that. And most parents, at least the male parents or the parents have no relationship to the student, they would go like, "Hmm, that's okay,"
Eh,
or good for him.
high five.
Right. But if the student was a woman, was a young lady, they would have big issues, and the dynamics would be different. And so that
Yeah.
going back to the original newspaper article, it's the boy, he's 17, and his mentor or caretaker is a woman, right? And so, um, in general, I can't say for all cases, but in general, I would say like it's probably not a toxic or predatory nature. And so that's why I think, in this case, I can very understand what those two are going through. And there's not, at least I won't make a judgment positively or negative. If it was like, if it was the other way around, like the mentor was a 40-something-year-old man and the girl was a
Absolutely no,
17-year-old
no,
girl,
no.
that was that would just, something innately inside you to say like, nah. But in this case, I understand, and you know, it's I think it's at least more palatable than the other way around.
At the end of the day, it's really about what do the quote unquote underdog in the scenario have to lose. So if it's a 17-year-old girl with a 46-year-old mentor, she has a lot to lose. Her innocence, she might get pregnant with like a really old man where she might have to stick around for with the kid. So it's like a consider irreversible damage to like a young woman's life if it's not something that's gonna be permanent. But for a boy, what does he stand to lose? Honestly,
Exactly. I
I'm
mean, I'm sorry, we're both men, but I'm sorry, like this is
yeah,
just a
I
mind,
know.
right?
Like, what does he have to lose? All right, he had sex with like his mentor.
No,
All right,
whoa, whoa,
the,
whoa, 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 whoa. We don't know.
what we I don't know, we don't know for sure, but I mean, he does. All right, and I mean, even if he doesn't, all right, let's not assume anything. Right.
That is
The
not true.
only thing that I'm semi concerned about with this relationship is that I wonder how far back they went, you know. So if he was 16, right around the edge of being legal, and she was like 45, I guess, well, whatever. But she was supposed to be his caretaker, meaning they went way back, like when he was, I don't know, 5, 6, 7, 8. And it gets creepy when you think about, how far back did it go to. So let's say, for example, if like he was 12 and he got groomed by this by then like 41-year-old woman, like groom a 12-year-old boy, that would be a little bit like unsettling to me. But assuming she wait until he was 16, and yeah, I guess there's no. But like, if I have to bet a gun to my head, I doubt that she stopped right around he was 16. It was like a year ago.
Right.
So I bet that this wonderful woman, I'm sure she's a wonderful woman, she eyeing up the boy when he was 10. And to me, that's a little bit much. But you do you, as long as they don't have any sexual relationship before the age of before he got at least like one pubes, then I guess you do you do whatever you want. His mom might not like it, which I can see why, but at the end of the day, morally, they make their own decision. The kid make his own decision, and the woman make her call. I bet the mom and the mentor is not like having lunch together anymore. That's for sure, but that's her choice. So yeah, I bet the dad is not gonna go to the hospital over this, just but the mom does. So,
I think
but
this would be, let's since we were talking about teacher and student relationship, I think this would be a good off ramp to go to our last topic of the day, which is where did it go? Okay. Which
that's a terrible decision.
to education, which if you didn't know, American International School in Nyabara district basically ran out of money. they've had to close in-person offline classes because the teachers basically revolted. They said that the teachers are not getting paid, so the teachers are not. They basically rebelled and said we're not going to teach classes now because of due the payment for the salary. And the update on this is that they stopped classes, I believe, a few weeks ago. They asked more money. And if you didn't know, the story is like the parents have to pay somewhere between 5 and 10 billion in this kind of advanced funding thing where the contract says that the parents send their kids there and they leave that money there as a deposit, interest free. And the school must return that advanced funding / deposit the minute the student graduates or transfers. And the problem is the parents have been asking for this money back since September, and they haven't been given that. They haven't been made whole. They've gotten maybe 10% back, I've heard. That's what the article said. And the school just asked for another bailout, basically, where the parents have to fork in more money just so that the school can operate until the end of the semester, which is only 3 months. And so
2 months away.
I'm sorry?
2 months away. It's the end of May.
Yeah, 2 or 3 months away, exactly. So this is what is happening. What's your 2 cents on this?
Okay, so I was digging down to a rabbit hole when I saw that because it reminds me of the story about Apex leader that I saw a few months back, which on the same topic as well.
Yeah, and that's on the
And
news, that's on the news too. And
you know that, right? So Apex leader is a big deal back today as well. I mean, it's not that long ago. And first I saw the number and I was really surprised at how much parents are willing to be scammed for
wait. Let's not try to use the word scam. Let's say they have a belief in the education system or the education institution.
Okay, I guess all right, let's not use the S word for now. It's too soon, all right?
Right.
So I guess I was really surprised by how much parents are willing to pay purely over their belief in the educational system. All right. And when I learned that, okay, they need almost $4 million extra to run for the next 2 months. First, okay, I've never run a school before, but that seems a lot. I don't know how much do they have to pay for everything, the cost of operation. I don't know how much, but $4 million seems like a lot. But let's assume that's true.
We're talking about here, just so you
Yeah. 4 million USD seems like a lot, which is around 100 billion, more or less. So, but let's assume that is true, all right? And they're asking for about almost 1,000 parents to crowdfund the school to operate until the end of this school year, which a lot of parents did. And a lot of them can contribute like $500 million up to $1 billion each to help the school out.
In additional funding.
In additional fund, yeah.
Right, not the what they invested already.
And I read to the end of the article, and turns out the school is on the trajectory where they are going to keep the donors' kids still in person class. So whoever the parent, if the parent donated, the kid will be in person class, but the rest of the kids are on track to be enrolled in online class for the rest of the semester, which is correct me if I'm wrong.
If the parents pay or infuse like this bailout, those kids get in person class, whereas the rest who do not are only supposed to attend online classes.
Online. And by the way, even if you don't donate, you're already paying like $500 million a year for the kid to go to middle school or high school year, which is still a lot, right? You already pay half. Most people can never even dream of having that much money to send a kid to that school. So and now you pay that much, and now you're having online education. All right, again, online education is not nothing, but online education is
Much lower.
paying that much online is a scam. All right, school is more about networking and learning in-person communication skill than just the learning. Most of the knowledge itself can be learned online easily. The reason you go to school in person is to learn the interpersonal skill as well, and the networking aspect of school as well. I would say the same thing for most university. And so for the parents who have to have their kids attend online class now, I would say it's worthy of the worst scam. So it seems to me like another scheme where they try to raise capital somewhere and spend somewhere else, and now they couldn't hold up their end on this business. And it's the same story for the Apex leader that I was talking about.
Before we get to the Apex, let me try to give a little bit of background about the parents' mindset when they put this deposit or do this advance funding. So
Yeah.
I have a friend that sends their kid and does this kind of advance funding thing. So I believe international schools, if you pay outright the tuition, depending on the age, but it actually increases between elementary, middle, and high school. And so the higher up you go, the more expensive the yearly tuition fees are. And so the parents' thinking is that, okay, if I put 5 billion or 10 billion in a slow moving asset like a savings account, bonds, or something, their return will not be the same amount as if they were to pay. So let me say that again. Their return would not match the yearly tuition. So instead of them putting that money, 5 billion, 10 billion Vietnam dong, into a slow moving return asset, they think that it's better to, if the deal is actually
to be trusted.
To be trusted, then it's easier for them to lend the school money and then pay tuition free basically for the life of the kid. So in their mind, so in their mind, it's a better investment to do that rather than paying outright the tuition fee. So that's the mind of the parents.
Yeah, fundraising scam, like I said. Like again, the parent, and you really have to admire most Asian parents' passion for their children's education. They would move heaven and earth to make sure that their kids have a better outlook than what they had growing up. Yeah, it's the number one thing that Asian parents cared about. They grew up in a very tough time during Vietnamese history, and I mean, if their kid go into high school now, they probably grow up like slightly like after the war. So it's probably rough, and I can see that. And yeah, what I was saying about APAC is that it's a simple story. It's not much to add. It's just like there was a guy was a big deal. He was on Shark Tank Vietnam in the 2017-2019 time span.
So
And
the owner of Apex Group is Shark Tui.
Yep.
If that remember. So he was on the show, and you might know him from the Shark Tank, Vietnam Shark Tank. But go ahead.
Yeah. So yeah, he obviously his name really helps with people. Really helped with Apex credibility because his name was behind it. And Apex has a lot of location everywhere, and it was running ads everywhere. It was a big deal. So people, placing their trust, they're going to spend a lot of money, and then boom, one day it's just gone. It's closed down with unpaid salary to a lot of their teacher, including a lot of foreigners as well. And I mentioned that just to point out that Vietnamese parents, whether it's about a formal education or just like language skill in general, they really, really don't cheap out on their children's education. They try to do their best of their ability to make sure their children have the best education they can afford. And sometimes their that one. And sometimes their trust got abused a lot. And I can extrapolate that to other things as well. So personally, recently I got some recent trouble with my dentist practitioner, but that's another story. It's not related to this one, but it seems like in Vietnam, people really want a good education for their children, and they are being preyed on for that. And it's really Bismarck. It's like the parent of the kids in the in international school that we're talking about, they pay a lot, and to make that much money, you can be dumb, right? So the parents are probably smart, so they're not dumb.
So
But
real quick about the international school, real quick. So these actually most of these international schools are not really international schools. There's only a handful of truly internationally managed that have connection to real ownership and real educational institutes outside of Vietnam. A lot of these international schools are actually just run by Vietnamese people that I don't think have deep ties into education business. And they call themselves international school mainly because they hire foreign-looking international teachers. That's
for
how they
marketing, essentially, yeah,
international schools. Go
yeah.
ahead.
Yeah, but that's not it's not even the point. I mean, they can be international. It can be making a valiant effort to be international. Sure, which have the case. Like, it's the point is that parents with a lot of money who did well for themselves in life are willing to spend a lot on their children to make sure that they have a better outlook than them growing up. It's a very admirable cause, and then they get abused out of their money like that. It's really tough to see, and it's the APAC story. That story all around the same theme that parents uh are really willing to plunge down the money for education purposes. And I wonder how much of that market is going to be turned into a capital raising scheme for other businesses that they have. Get the YouTuber, hey, you can pay for 12 years in advance. You have like a good deal. You pay 10 billion now, but you don't have to worry about tuition for the next 18 years of your kid's life. We're going to take care of it. And I'm assuming it holds up, sure. But most of the time, like Skate, for example, and we don't know how much of them there are until they happens, right? And so, and also unrelated, I kind of wanted to bring them in. So I in my old job, I have a few colleagues who were having some trouble with their performance review because their English is not up to par.
Yeah.
And they start talking to me about where, because they assume that I went to like a professional English center to learn English, right? But no. So they asked, hey, can you recommend some school? I need to improve my English real fast for my job, and I don't have anything to tell them because I don't have much experience with like hunting down a good English school, so I know which one to recommend them. But like out of like instinct, I just said like a few big names that I have in my head, and one of them is APAC's leader back in the day, right? It's not that long ago. It's like right before that, and I'm glad he didn't went for it. Like, I would be really feel shitty around him if that happened. So, but yeah, like I said, we really don't know until we know. Even if like a big name behind it, if it's like a big deal, it looks a massive, looks too big to fail until they fail anyways. So yeah, that kind of story just makes me mad.
Cool. So I'll tie this to my experience in Korea because they have this kind of funding relationship or funding model, but it's for real estate. So in America, first off, I've never heard of an educational institute do this kind of advanced funding thing. But in Korea, they don't do this in education as well. But however, they do this for rental and leases. So this is the first time I heard of this kind of model where, let's say, like if I were to rent an apartment, 500 USD in Korea, right? I have the option of paying outright every month $500, or I can give them, I forgot the name in Korean, but it's basically I give them, say, 5 times 12, 6,000, right? So if I give them like 6,000 or 5,000 upfront to the landlord has the right to hold that money until I leave the apartment, and then he or she returns it back. What I know is that the landlord, they use this money for whatever, they have the right to do whatever they want with it. But most of the time, the landlord would use this to actually put it in a bank account or invest it in mainly real estates. And what I've heard is like a lot of these international schools in Vietnam, they do just that. They use that money to invest in somewhere. And when the market is good, then everybody is happy and everything is returned and made whole. The parents are made whole. However, like in these economic times, it's really hard to get a return with high interest rates. And so they're stuck when the parents want the money back. And so in Korea, it's more smooth. However, in Korea, the landlord is not um, given a deadline. They're not forced to, even on the contract, you're not forced to give back the money immediately after you leave the premise of the apartment or house. Like they just need to pay you back, but there's no timeline. And so it's similar in how they structure uh, the advanced funding at the international schools. So this is just like a little insight of like how other places do it. But as far as education in Korea, yeah, I've never heard of someone trying to do this sort of model.
If there's no timeline, then can they legally not pay back forever?
I don't know if there's a expiration date where the landlord is fined or has penalties or needs to go to court, but they must pay back. In this case, I think with Apex, they basically pled bankruptcy, and now it seems like part of it or most of it they don't need to pay back anymore.
I don't think they mentioned that in the article, but I imagine that would be the play here. If it's an LLC, then the parents are out of luck. They cannot go after the shark himself. Just all right, you're done. And so I used to believe the concept that all right, if you go with something, go with the big name. And so too big to fail, so you're safer that way. But now you don't know anymore. So right now the best bet is still anything that our government. Oh, it's just like all right. I just want to add something real quick, right? Like
Yeah,
before you sent me the article about the international school, I had no idea. I mean, I had a general idea how much you have to pay,
I didn't.
and then this article really opened my eye about how much we are willing to pay.
Yeah.
And willing to get scammed out of. I had no idea how much you had to pay, but that seemed like more than I expected. Okay. But if you get your money's worth, then I'll say yeah, go for it. I'll personally say it's a good investment. No matter what you think, whether formal education is still worth these day and age, it's still you still should get an education past K-12, and then after that you can debate whether or not what you do next. But still, it's still worth an experience. So, but I had no idea how much you have to pay until now, and yeah, it's really surprises me. There's a lot of things that you just gotta assume. But then you find out, and then oh my god, you had no idea.
Absolutely.
That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
And that school.
Go ahead.
And I still want to call bullshit on them saying that they need $4 million to run for the next 2 months. 2 months, one school, 4 million. I don't know. It sounds kind of sus to me. Unless they disclose their book, their monthly book, then I'll believe it. But right now, rent, salary, operation, I don't think it's 4 million for 2 months. That's too much. And that's 4 million on top of what they already have the parent donated before. It's insane. So we'll see about that.
You actually, somebody told me that it looks like where did Harry Potter go to school? Hogwarts.
Hogwarts?
Yeah.
It looks like Hogwarts?
Someone mentioned the facility is quite impressive. It looks like Hogwarts. It looks like some kind of like old English academy with vines and things growing on top of the building. So I've heard it's impressive and it's a large campus, but we can't really say too much about what their bottom line or what their accounting looks like.
Well, I haven't went inside, but if that's the case, then maybe the $4 million price tag to run for the next 2 months is justified. After all, you need all of those ladies to clean up with the crook nooks and crannies on the detail, the gargoyle on top, right? So
Harry Potter wouldn't be too happy about this. Yeah, I gotta learn my magic tricks on Zoom now, Mom. Okay.
This if you think about it, it's kind of a magic school too. You make the money disappear. Kapow. See?
All right, well that sounds like a good spot to wrap up.